Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Maritime CEO Leader Series powered by Ocean Technologies Group. Now, when we started this whole video series, among kind of social media shipping chums, I asked who they would like to see in the coming season. And I can tell you, John Michael, your name came within the top two. Now, if you're watching, Mr. Fredrickson, my Zoom is your Zoom. But you were number two, John Michael, so we're very, very grateful for you to be here on what I know is a beautiful day in Monaco.
Let me start here. I am a far down number two because Mr. Fredrickson, and anyone who disagrees with this is just wrong, is by far the smartest person in the industry. By far, different league, forget about it, no arguments. But anyway, thank you.
Yeah, it's a nice to even be linked with him. Right, now, well, perhaps a little bit like him. If I was to describe you as a Captain Bullish, let's get to why so many people saying that dry bulk is the sector that has the best fundamentals for the coming 12 months. Why is that?
Okay, well, let's start with order book and supply coming in. This year is a little bit of a hump in the order book, and then moving into 2021 and 2022, you actually have a historically very, very light order book. And then you couple that with the scrapping we've seen already. And then this is some good news. Put a smile on your face. Valley has announced that they're going to phase out 25 converted blocks of very large ore carriers. That's basically the equivalent of 40 normal Capes. Why I'm so happy about that is because I think there's a real safety issue with those, and it's all about the people and it's all about our crews. That's where everything starts, and to see those ships get phased out finally from a safety perspective, it's very satisfying. And on top of that, for the S&D, you have 40 ships coming out of the market probably this year, on top of the low order book that we talked about. So the supply side looks pretty good. And then on the demand side, let's start with the Cape sizes, which drive the market, the dry bulk market on the whole. I actually feel a little bit bad about doing that because at CTM, we all have baseball cards. It shows our strengths and weaknesses. They're anonymously done, so no one really can challenge me and not be worried because everyone should be challenged. And one of my weaknesses is I'm too focused on Cape sizes and not the other sectors. But anyway, that's where some good news is coming through. So let's start there. And as I said, it does drive the market, no doubt about that. So also, Valley's iron ore production guidance for the remainder of this year is between 20 to 40 million tons more than it was last year, right? So that's, let's call 1 million tons of demand from Valley, about one Cape size per year. So the S&D just got another 20 to 40 ships better. And if you count the 40 ships they took out, we're talking about an S&D picture for Cape sizes that now, this week, from last week, looks between 60 and 80 ships better than it did before, supply versus demand. So that's the first thing. And then moving over to the coal side, you're starting to see that come back a little bit now too. Yesterday, we saw our first, in a while, the first couple cargoes coming out of East Coast Australia going into China. We also saw some coal demand going into India, which is very interesting. It looks like they're restarting soon. Their stockpiles are probably coming down a little bit. And then South Africa too is going to come back off lockdown. So we're thinking seaborne coal movements. We're fairly constructive. I would say our base case is the same as last year, but with the extra iron ore demand and the scrapping and the phase out of the blocks, it actually paints a fairly rosy picture for the big ships. And then we move down to Panamax and Supramax. The supply situation is fairly similar. And on the demand side, okay, they also carry iron ore and coal, but you also have soft commodity agri trade, which looks fairly good now too. And a lot of that's due to the trade war negotiations, the Chinese lifting tariffs. So you're going to start to see more flows there. Now, I'll caveat all this. This depends on how, let's call it, South American countries are coping with the virus and the outbreak that's happening there. So that's the one bottleneck to the supply of that cargo. But let's move back up to the United States. We're starting to see US Gulf grain stems being quoted for May too. So we're fairly constructive on the demand side, and I think the supply side is taking care of itself. Again, message to owners, let's not screw it up again. Please, no new buildings. There are enough secondhand ships. If you really need to find one, you can call me. I will happily sell one to you. And we can all make a lot of money together.
That's very kind of you.
That's kind of a rough picture of the S&D and the dry bulk market. So I think actually come the second half of this year, when economies restart, and if you look at how they're restarting, it's construction and manufacturing, right? Plus they have to eat, so that's the soft commodities. So it means that the dry bulk ships are really the arteries to the world economy and the arteries to a recovery, because we're going to come out of this on the most part, well, definitely in China, probably in the US, and my guess is in Europe too, through infrastructural stimulus. So we are literally the arteries that's going to bring us out of this awful, awful mess. But it is what it is. So we think that the back end of this year and into 21, you should see some real fireworks. You'll see, I'm sure of this, you're going to see some big Capesize spikes, and you should see minor bulk shifts on a nice steady trajectory. And actually 2021 is where we think you'll have another real sweet spot in the supply demand dynamics and then freight pricing. So for the owners out there, no new buildings, older ships, scrap them, follow Valley's example. And I keep saying this, every single cargo that you prices an entire market and the asset value of your ship. So when you do it, do not make a quick decision. Think it through. Look at the whole picture, synthesize well, decide well.
This is why everyone wanted to watch you. Now, in the current environment, do you sense that the popularity of pools is set to grow?
Well, let's start off here. I'm not exactly objective about that, but I mean, pooling's been in our DNA since 2004. I'm an enormous believer in it. I believe in strength in numbers, and I believe in pools if they're structured how we've structured our Capesize, our Panamax, and our Supermax pools, which, by the way, today have over 240 ships in them on the spot market. But it's about the structure, right? So you have flexibility, then transparency, low fees, and performance, right? All of those we've managed to do. So our pools since 2016 have paid out hundreds of millions of dollars above where the Baltic spot indexes are, net of fees and differentials. It's a first thing. And this is what makes me happier than anyone from a business sense, is the people have our operating partners, clients who are in our pools, right? And by the way, I am one of them, have been able to come in and out of the pools, and they've been able to do that very profitably. We have 3 clients, actually Mr. Fredrickson was one of them, that put ships into the pools and then saw the market going up, had the flexibility to bring them out immediately, quicker than an index-linked charter, and top tick the asset waves. So that's the nicest thing to see when you see an operating partner and a friend and frankly a ship owner have a nice windfall that you were part of. And by the way, GoodBulk has done it too. It's one of our portfolio companies. Castellan Commodities, which was a Dreyfus spinoff, they also did it. So it's really nice to see people come in, come out with a nice windfall. That's the main thing, because we have a saying, right? There's 3 things that we look at, right? It's excellent outcomes in the performance of the assets, excellent outcomes in our thought partnership with our clients, right? In understanding our market and being able to synthesize the picture going forward better. We have a thought partnership with all of our clients, and it's a beautiful thing. And then the meaningful relationships with all the people involved, employees, clients, operating partners, owners, striving for excellence. And those are 3 beautiful things, and those are 3 things that we really push for and really strive for at CTM.
Okay, last question for you. And I think you're probably on lockdown till what, the middle of May, something like that?
Okay, let me start here. Let me just explain to you how we look at lockdown. And I'm sorry if any of my operating partners or owning partners, my staff, are watching this because they've heard this probably 300 times by now. But anyway, there are only 2 days of lockdown, the first day and the last day. And how you make that happen is you live day by day as efficiently and as happily as you possibly can. That is, as they say in India, that is your dharma. We are at war. This is what you need to do. And doing that, you're saving lives and you're giving a backbone to the heroes out there. So that's how I approach lockdown from a high level. But there are some positives, and here's some of them. You get to see some great characters and real heroes come out of this, and that is just a beautiful thing. You have some disappointments, of course, but you really see people coming together and doing the right thing. You could go through a list of them, but it's really it's the cop who's down there, out there. It's the guy who's delivering your mail. It's the guy at the grocery store. These people are literally risking your lives so you can stay home and do your dharma and also save lives. So we can all be heroes, but hats off to them.
In your dharma, what are you watching? What are you reading?
I am not watching much, to be perfectly honest. This is something else that I've always believed in, and it's something that I really, really regret that I didn't do more of it when I was growing up, and it's reading. So yeah, this is a beautiful time to be able to read and grow your knowledge base and experience the world through books, which is just so much better than watching TV. So I've a couple of good books that I've finished. I'll show them to you if you'd like. You might know them. So there's The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis, which is pretty good. And then there is kind of a subsequent book on that, which is called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, which is by Daniel Kahneman, who's probably one of the smartest people that's ever walked the earth. And this one has been really great. And it's not that boring. It's engaging, and you will learn something, and you will have a better, I did at least, you will have a better perspective of life. Then I've got a River of Eden, which is about Darwinism and the genetics and evolution. And it's a cool one because it takes you through pretty quickly, and it's a pretty quick read. And then my last book, which I started this morning before I did my emails, which is called The Lessons of History, this is a nice read. It's 100 pages, it's pretty short, and it just takes you through history, and it gives you, it clarifies a lot of the other, a lot of stuff about how history changes and how humans generally behave. And frankly, what it's basically telling you is we're more products of our environment, and we all kind of end up acting in the same way, depending on where we are. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've been doing.
There's no need for a Netflix subscription for you. Thank you very much indeed for your time, John Michael. We'll be back next week. Stay sane and sanitized, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.